On September 13th, the universe does not whisper, it roars. What unfolds is not the gentle brush of planets aligning in familiar rhythms, but a cosmic collision that shakes the very fabric of perception. Mercury, the swift messenger of the skies, does not simply stand beside the sun. It is swallowed whole, drawn into the very furnace of solar fire, in what ancient seers named Cazimi. For a few charged hours, Mercury is not orbiting at a safe distance. It is seated on the throne of the sun itself. And that is when everything changes. This union is not soft, nor is it forgiving. It presses against the nervous system like a storm rattling the walls of a house. For those who are sensitive, those who carry the imprint of being chosen, it feels as though the body itself becomes an antenna, buzzing with transmissions too powerful to ignore. What others dismiss as coincidence, the chosen recognizes initiation. The energy of this moment does not slip into life quietly. It floods it, cracking open thresholds you didn't even know existed. Your body knows before your mind dares to admit it. The restless pulse in your veins, the quickened breath, the sudden tremor in the chest. These are not random disturbances. They are signals that the gate has opened. You are no longer standing on yesterday's ground. You are standing on the threshold of the unknown, and the sun is demanding that Mercury's message be heard. To ordinary eyes, September 13th is just a date on the calendar. To the awakened, it is a marker carved in fire. It is the day the veil thins, when predictable cycles shatter and raw, unfiltered truth surges in. This is why no part of you will feel the same. Your thoughts, your sensations, your instincts, all will be rewritten under the blaze of this collision. And in that blaze, the question is not whether you will feel it, but whether you will answer it. When Mercury steps into the heart of the sun, it does not simply burn, it illuminates. But illumination comes at a cost, and the first to pay the toll is the mind. For Mercury rules thought, speech, the delicate circuitry that translates inner knowing into words and understanding. And when this messenger is set aflame inside the solar core, the mind feels the impact like a bell rung too hard. Headaches pulse not as mere aches, but as pounding rhythms echoing behind the eyes, as though the skull itself is conducting celestial electricity. Concentration slips like sand through fingers. Sentences vanish mid-thought. Words dissolve before they can be spoken. Irritability creeps in at the edges, not from weakness, but from the weight of messages pressing against mental gates too narrow to contain them. For thinkers, seekers, and those who refuse easy answers, this collision lands with particular intensity. Mercury tests not only what you know, but how you think. It pulls your logic into loops, forcing you to question even your own questioning. Every sharp ache, every lost thread of thought, every frustrating pause becomes a cosmic exam. Will you endure the pressure long enough to glimpse the clarity hidden inside? Clarity does not arrive gently here. It cracks through the skull like lightning splitting a tree. Between waves of irritation and throbbing pain, flashes of insight appear. A problem that haunted you for months suddenly reveals its answer. An idea bursts through, brilliant and brief, before vanishing into silence again. The discomfort is the price of vision. Where the mind tightens, the light pries something loose. So, if your head aches, if your words falter, if your patience frays, do not dismiss it as mere fatigue. This is Mercury in trial by fire, demanding that you see beyond surface logic. The pressure is not punishment. It is initiation. In the crucible of the sun, the mind is being tested, stripped, and reforged. And when the pressure relents, it leaves behind a sharper edge, a truer voice, a mind no longer bound by its old patterns. From the furnace of the mind, the fire travels downward, seeking new ground. When Mercury burns inside the sun, its influence doesn't stop at thought. It moves through the body, touching the very parts that carry out intention. And no part feels this more keenly than the hands, those subtle instruments of creation, healing, and action. It begins as a strange buzzing, like static caught under the skin. Fingers tremble without command. Objects slip as though greased by unseen currents. A pen falls mid-sentence. A glass tips without warning. Keys scatter across a table for no reason you can name. These are not clumsy accidents. They are the body attempting to release the excess charge coursing through it. Energy too sharp to stay contained. Imagine your palms as grounding plates suddenly wired into the sun's furnace. They hum, twitch, and ache under pressure, rehearsing movements they cannot yet complete. For healers, creators, builders, and writers, this can be both disruptive and revealing. The tools of your craft seem to rebel, yet in their rebellion lies a hidden message. Where is your focus truly directed? What energy are your hands trying to redirect? Some will feel it as restlessness, fingers tapping, knuckles cracking, wrists tightening without cause. Others will describe it as a vibration, faint but relentless, as though nerves are trying to send a message that language cannot yet capture. Your hands are speaking their own dialect of Mercury's fire. It's a script written not in words, but in movement. This stage is not punishment, but translation. Just as the mind was tested with looping thoughts and sudden clarity, the hands are now being tuned like instruments strung too tight. Their trembling is not weakness. It is resonance. And if you listen carefully to what they reveal, you may find that every slip, every buzz, every restless tap is pointing you toward the real work you've been avoiding. For the chosen, the hands are not betraying you. They are guiding you. They are declaring that the message of Mercury must not remain in the mind alone. It must be acted out in the world. The trembling of the hands is only the prelude. What follows is far stranger, a revelation that strikes not in whisper but in searing flashes of recognition. When Mercury sits enthroned in the sun, clarity does not drift in like a gentle dawn. It erupts like a bolt of fire, sudden and undeniable. And this is the point where the chosen feel the true weight of the alignment. It begins without warning. After hours of mental strain and bodily static, the fog suddenly parts. An answer you have avoided for months presents itself with startling simplicity. A relationship you doubted reveals its true nature in a single breath. The real reason for your delays, your hesitations, your repeated cycles, it all ignites into focus, as though the universe has torn away the veil in one brutal gesture. But clarity never comes free. The nervous system protests as it struggles to carry voltage it was never designed to handle all at once. Temples pound like war drums. Muscles tense as though bracing against invisible waves. Some will feel brief shocks in the brain, like wires sparking, a reminder that knowledge too bright burns its way into the body. This is the cost of revelation. To carry truth is to endure its fire. Yet what a gift this fire is. Imagine wrestling with a locked door for years, only to have it swing open in a single instant, not by force, but by timing. That is what Mercury's immersion in the sun grants. A sudden tearing of the knot, the moment when all the restless fumbling finally makes sense. For some, this will feel like exhaustion, dizziness, even collapse. But for others, it will feel like salvation, a truth too big to unsee. The burn of clarity marks a threshold. Once glimpsed, it cannot be reversed. You cannot pretend not to know what you now know. The universe does not grant this vision for comfort. it grants it for transformation, and though the fire may scorch, it leaves behind not ashes, but a sharper path forward, lit by the blaze of a truth you can no longer deny. The burn of clarity may ignite the mind, but its flames do not remain there. They descend deeper, into the hidden corridors of the body, where instinct and survival reside. If the head is the chamber of thought, the gut is the second mind, the place where truths are felt before they are spoken. And under the fierce heat of Mercury and the sun, this second mind begins to roar. It often begins as a sudden churn, a flip as though the floor inside you has shifted. Some feel it as nervous hunger, an urgent craving not born from emptiness, but from the body's desperate attempt to ground itself against the surge of fire. Others will sense waves of heat rising through the intestines, as if a quiet furnace has been lit, where calm digestion once reigned. These are not accidents of appetite or random discomforts. They are signals, the gut translating solar fire into sensation. This is not digestion gone wrong. This is translation, the nervous system overrun with voltage and the gut stepping in as interpreter. But the interpretation is messy. Butterflies swell into storms. Churning becomes a restless twisting. Hunger feels more like yearning. The body is trying to say, you are swallowing what should not be swallowed. You are holding what must be released. For the chosen, these gut flames act like an alarm system. The stomach clenches at the mention of a person you no longer trust. Heat floods when you think of a choice you've been avoiding. Hunger spikes not because you need food, but because your soul is starving for truth. What was once silent now speaks in fire. Dismiss it as stress if you like. Call it nerves or poor sleep. But the timing betrays the truth. As Mercury burns in the solar core, the gut becomes too loud to ignore. It is demanding honesty. It is revealing where you have tried to process life quietly, in shadows, without confrontation. This fire declares that silence can no longer hold. The second mind, the gut, is awake, and it insists that you listen. The fire that churns in the gut does not stay hidden for long. It rises, seeking passage through the windows of perception. And where does it strike most fiercely? The eyes. Those fragile gateways between the inner world and the outer, now forced to stare into a brilliance no human frame was built to endure. For when Mercury seats itself in the blazing heart of the sun, sight is no longer ordinary. Vision becomes trial. It begins subtly. The light feels harsher, even cruel. The glow of a phone screen is suddenly unbearable. The fluorescent bulbs above seem to slice instead of illuminate. For some, words blur and swim on a page, as though refusing to be captured. Others glimpse fleeting flashes, spots of color darting at the edge of vision, sudden streaks of brightness that vanish before they can be named. These are not malfunctions of the eye. They are the signs of an inner sight, struggling to keep pace with a flood of radiance. Since childhood, we are warned never to look directly at the sun. The retina cannot handle that much brilliance. Yet here, under the Mercury Cazimi, the soul attempts exactly that. The inner eye throws open its shutters, trying to absorb a clarity too immense for the body's fragile lens. And so the body reacts, blurring, straining, resisting. It is not blindness, it is overwhelm. But hidden within the discomfort is revelation. The eyes are mirrors, not just for the world around us, but for the truths within us. When light blazes too bright, what slips through the cracks are not failures of vision, but glimpses of a deeper reality. Intuition, realizations, sudden knowings that flash as quickly as the light itself. Sight, in these moments, becomes something more than seeing. It becomes perceiving. For the chosen, this can be deeply unsettling. Imagine trying to read a sacred text, while floodlights blaze in every corner of the room. It is not the text that is wrong. It is the intensity of the light. Such is the nature of this alignment. The eyes rebel because clarity itself is too raw, too unfiltered to be taken all at once. And yet, those brief moments of blur and brilliance remind us there is more to see than vision alone can hold. Tomorrow, as Mercury sits inside the sun, your body will not let you forget that sight and understanding are not the same. True clarity blinds, not because it deceives, but because it is too real. The eyes strain against the blaze of clarity, and just as they falter, another truth emerges, etched not in light, but in number. September 13th is no ordinary mark on the calendar. To most, it is simply a date. To the chosen, it is a cipher, a doorway disguised as a number that has haunted human history with equal measures of fear and reverence. 13. Oh, for centuries, cultures have whispered of its power. Skipped floors in hotels, empty rows on airplanes, warnings of curses and bad luck. But superstition hides what ancient initiates always knew. 13 is not a number of doom, but of transformation. It is the breaker of cycles, the disruptor of order. 12 is completeness, the zodiac, the months of the year, the hours of the clock. 13 refuses to stay inside that cage. It bursts through, declaring that endings are never final and beginnings never arrive gently. Now, place this sacred number beside the event unfolding. Mercury does not often merge with the very heart of the sun, and yet it chooses the 13th day, as though the cosmos itself circled the date in fire and whispered, "Pay attention." This is not chance. This is initiation. The universe is not nudging politely. It is demanding recognition. 13 is the liminal bridge, the threshold where one cycle dies and another begins. It does not comfort. It does not soothe. It breaks. It shifts. It initiates. That is why fear clings to it so tightly, because humans resist what they cannot predict. Yet, for those awake enough to feel it, 13 is not a curse. It is a key. It unlocks the passage between the known and the unknown, between the circle of repetition and the spiral of transformation. So, when September 13th arrives with Mercury blazing in the solar core, understand this. You are not facing routine astrology. You are stepping into a collective rite of passage. The mind trembles, the hands shake, the gut burns, the eyes strain, because your entire being is preparing for a leap. The number itself insists upon it. This is why the date matters. This is why your body cannot rest easy. 13 is not the end of the story. It is the door into the next chapter, and only those willing to cross it will understand what lies beyond. The power of 13 does not wait politely for dawn. It arrives early, slipping through the cracks of time, announcing itself in the hours before the portal fully opens. That means the night of September 12th is not like other nights. It carries the tremor of what is coming, an echo of the threshold before it reveals itself in full force. You may feel it as restlessness that no blanket can soothe. The body tosses and turns as though seeking a rhythm it cannot find. The mind, even when exhausted, refuses to quiet, spinning webs of thought long after you've begged for silence. For some, it manifests as sudden jolts awake, as if an invisible hand shook you at specific hours, midnight, 3 a.m., perhaps again just before dawn. These are not accidents of sleep. They are pressure points on the body's inner clock, tuned to cosmic timing you cannot control. In these hours, the veil thins. You may find yourself half dreaming, half awake, watching from outside your own body, as though caught between two realities. This liminal state is no illusion. It is rehearsal. The nervous system is syncing with the shift. testing its circuits, ensuring that when Mercury blazes in the solar heart, you will be ready to receive it. Every twitch of muscle, every surge of heartbeat in the dark, is the body's way of running its final checks. For the chosen, this night becomes the truest test. Do not mistake wakefulness for failure or agitation for weakness. These are signs that your system is listening, responding to frequencies most will never sense. If you feel your chest tighten, if your legs kick unbidden, if your breath seems louder than usual, it is because your body already knows what tomorrow demands. It is not insomnia, it is initiation. The night before always whispers its warning. It tells you in quiet pulses, the gate is near, the fire is rising. Prepare. And if you cannot sleep, if you find yourself staring into the shadows, understand this: your body is not betraying you, it is aligning you. By the time the 13th dawn arrives, you will not be surprised. You will already be attuned, already carrying the imprint of the passage. That is why the night before matters. It is the first step through the door. The restless night leaves its mark, and as the 13th dawn approaches, another layer of perception awakens, one woven not of sight or thought, but of sound. When Mercury is pressed into the sun's core, the frequencies that usually hum beneath awareness rise to the surface. The world begins to speak in whispers and echoes, and suddenly the chosen ones hear what others cannot. It may begin as a low hum, like a radio left on in another room. At first, you dismiss it as imagination, until it grows sharper. Footsteps in a hallway that vanish when you look, threads of conversation that dissolve when you try to follow them, faint knocks or taps in places where no one stands. This is not madness, it is resonance. The nervous system, overstimulated by the alignment, can no longer filter out background frequencies. Instead, it amplifies them, revealing the subtle language of the unseen. Some will find it deeply personal. A whisper surfaces just as you think of someone dear. A rhythm beats in time with your own pulse. A faint click echoes every time you pass the doorway you have been avoiding. These are not coincidences. They are messages carried on currents of sound, half-formed but insistent. The ears are decoding signals normally lost in the noise of daily life, and what they reveal is startling truth. The body reacts too. Gooseflesh rises at tones no one else seems to hear. Silence itself feels charged, like a pause heavy with unspoken meaning. You may flinch at a vibration that seems to strike your bones, or wake with the uncanny sensation that your name was called in the night. This is the body reading patterns beyond words, recognizing cadence and pitch as carriers of intention. For the chosen, this heightened hearing is both gift and burden. It can expose lies, reveal sincerity, uncover hidden motives in the quiver of a voice, but it can also overwhelm, flooding the mind with too many signals at once, demanding you discern what matters. This is the test. Will you drown in the noise, or will you learn to follow the sound that carries truth? As Mercury burns within the sun, remember this: the ears are more than organs of hearing. They are gates of perception, translating vibration into meaning. And in this alignment, they will not allow you to ignore what is real. The world is speaking. The question is, will you listen? The sounds linger, strange and haunting. But soon another truth begins to emerge, a softer one, though no less profound. After the body has trembled, the mind has strained, the gut has burned, the eyes have blurred, and the ears have awakened, a deeper understanding reveals itself. You are not unraveling, you are recalibrating. It is easy to mistake these surges, the buzzing in your hands, the pounding behind your temples, the sudden hunger or loss of focus, as signs of collapse. But collapse is not what this is. The system is not failing. It is reorganizing itself under pressure, testing its own edges, shifting its wires to handle a higher voltage. Like a room being cleaned, the furniture must first be dragged out of place before order can be restored. The body is no different. Each discomfort, each surge of static, is the nervous system learning a new dialect of energy. At first, it mispronounces, it twitches, misfires, overreacts. But slowly, through repetition, it steadies. For the chosen, these sensations are not punishments but markers, proof that alignment is underway. What feels like chaos is actually training, refinement, initiation, and hidden within the turbulence is a gift. The buzzing hand becomes an early warning system, alerting you to truths before the mind can process them. The ache behind the eyes becomes a signal that perception is widening. The gut's fire turns into intuition so sharp, it cuts through deception before words are spoken. Sensitivity, once dismissed as weakness, reveals itself as the compass that points toward survival, clarity, and purpose. As more awaken to this recalibration, the field around them shifts too. Relationships smooth as tension dissolves. Projects long stagnant suddenly lurch forward. Choices that seemed impossible days ago resolve with unexpected ease. The alignment does not only rewire the individual, it tilts the collective current. What begins inside one body ripples outward, reshaping the world it touches. The lesson here is simple. Integration. Insight that burns bright but fades without action is wasted. The spark must be grounded in ordinary choices. A conversation you avoided, a decision you postponed, a truth you feared to speak. Now is the time to move. Every small action anchored in clarity helps the body settle into its new rhythm. This is not sudden magic. It is steady repatterning, lived out step by step. So do not fear the recalibration. Embrace it. Your body is not betraying you. It is training you, refining you, preparing you. What seems like static today will soon become signal. And when the signal steadies, you will realize this was never about breaking down. It was about breaking through. After the storms of fire and static, after the mind's tests and the body's tremors, the alignment leaves behind its most subtle yet undeniable gift. Not thunder, not lightning, not visions written across the sky, but breath. For in the quiet that follows Mercury's searing trial in the heart of the sun, the chosen will know they have crossed the threshold when a single inhale feels utterly different from every breath that came before. At first, the chest may have felt tight, the ribs braced as if the air itself resisted entry. Nights of restlessness left the lungs shallow, the diaphragm tense. But when the alignment crests and the body has survived its recalibration, something changes without warning. A long, effortless inhale arrives, smooth, expansive, refreshing in a way almost alien. It feels less like filling the lungs and more like borrowing wings. This is the body's way of confirming the passage is complete. Do not mistake this for ordinary respiration. This breath is not just oxygen. It carries a softness that settles the heart, a clarity that eases the nerves, a release that feels both physical and spiritual. Shoulders drop, the chest opens, the diaphragm stretches without resistance. It feels as though the air belongs not to this world, but to a purer one. The body, for one startling moment, remembers what it means to be unbound. This is the final seal of the portal, the cosmic signature that the trial was endured and embodied. You did not merely witness the Mercury Cazimi. You moved through it. You let it burn, and you emerged breathing differently. The inhale becomes the mark etched into your very being, the simplest yet most profound evidence that the alignment was not endured in vain. So, when the chaos quiets, pay close attention. If, amidst the aftermath, you find yourself suddenly gifted with that strange, crystalline breath, know that it is no accident. It is the confirmation you have been waiting for. You are no longer the same. You did not just survive the fire, you were remade by it. And with that inhale, the portal closes behind you, leaving you forever marked as one who crossed. And so, the passage draws to a close. From the trembling of the hands to the fire in the gut, from the strain of the eyes to the whispers in the ear, from restless nights to that final sacred breath, the journey through Mercury's trial has revealed itself in full. What began as chaos now settles into quiet revelation. The body was never failing. It was preparing. Every ache, every flicker, every shiver was not a punishment, but a signal, a summons, an initiation into a truth that only the chosen could endure. September 13th is no longer just a date marked in ink on a calendar. It has become a living symbol, etched into flesh and spirit alike. It is the moment the veil thinned and the ordinary fell away, when cycles of 12 gave way to the 13th gate of transformation. Those who resisted may call it coincidence. Those who slept through it may dismiss it as nothing. But you, who felt the fire in your nerves, who woke at strange hours, who heard whispers no one else could hear, you know better. You have lived the portal. You have carried its burn. And this is the true gift, clarity. Not the fleeting kind that fades with morning, but the kind that reorders how you walk through life. The mind sharpened by pressure, the body tuned by vibration, the spirit stretched wide by light. This recalibration is not temporary. It is a new pattern, one that asks to be lived daily, in choices both small and vast. So what remains now is integration. Take the clarity and act. Take the new compass of sensitivity and follow it. Take the truth your body burned to reveal and live it out loud. The cosmos does not offer this kind of initiation often. To ignore it is to turn your back on the very passage you bled to cross. And when the world returns to its routines, when others walk blind through their days as if nothing happened, you will carry the secret flame. You will remember the hum in your bones, the fire in your gut, the blur of light, and above all, the breath. That one perfect inhale will forever remind you, you crossed the threshold. You did not just witness the alignment, you became it. This is your mark of passage. This is your initiation. The portal has closed, but its echo lives in you. And from this moment forward, nothing will ever be the same.